Now is an exciting time to be alive. Progress is on the horizon for many. Exponential technology and the acceleration of breakthrough science provides hope and an opportunity for all life on this planet to benefit. But for that to be possible, we need to ensure that specific guidelines and principles are written into the development of new technology from the outset, so that each technology meets the criteria to do good, not harm. Technologies cannot simply be understood as neutral tools or instruments. They embody the values of their creators and may unconsciously reinforce systematic patterns of inequality, discrimination, and oppression. We need technologies that solve 21st century challenges to move the human story forward for everyone, improving all life of this planet. A development framework is necessary to do so. And that framework is specific design principles which are tailored for the development of each of these exponential technologies.
My name is Stephen Umbrello. I'm the Managing Director at the Institute for Ethics and Emerging Technologies. I'm a researcher at the University of Turin and author of the forthcoming book, Technology Ethics, Responsible Innovation and Design Strategy. Welcome to the third and final Idea Me soundbite. In the first two soundbites, we looked at the various narratives that we tend to default to when talking about technology. And in the second one, we looked at what is one way that we can at least begin thinking about developing technologies that promote human flourishing. When we talk about artificial intelligence, like many other transformative technologies, they tend to have radical impacts, transformative impacts at relatively large pace. It makes this really hard to catch up. And for that reason, approaches to design that are philosophically principled, like value-sensitive design, makes it part of their underlying premise that we intervene early on, before it gets too late and it becomes very difficult, if not impossible, to take a technology away that's already become pervasive and ubiquitous. A good example of how to integrate values into artificial intelligence is, first, to understand how a model, a machine learning model, for example, categorizes the data that we're going to give it. This means that we need to look at the type of data that we're going to collect and select. That in itself is an ethical issue because it's a choice what data to include and what data to exclude. We can't include all data, and therefore the choice is an ethical choice. For example, during 2020 and 2021, the German government, when proposing Corona Data Spend, the tracking and tracing app for the contagion, decided to use a machine learning system in which it fed pseudo-anonymized data by voluntary participants, those who downloaded the app to their phone. Despite it being pseudo-anonymized, therefore not having all the information of the participants fully transparent, even the inclusion of things like postal codes increases the probability that the system will be biased and will have biased social consequences. If a real estate agent sees that a large majority of the contagion is concentrated in a certain geographical area in the city, will they be more likely to increase or decrease the price of homes there? Same thing regarding those who choose using the app to see where the contagion is being spread to frequent certain businesses in areas rather than others. So we can see how the very choice of the data, pseudo-anonymized or not, we don't need to give our names and our email address and our phone numbers for it to be an invasion of our privacy and for it to have impacts on our everyday lives. Value-sensitive design says that, well, we need to anticipate this and we need to already design the technologies in order to avoid these kind of consequences, not only during its use upon release to the public, but also across multiple generations. We know that certain artificial intelligence systems are, by their very nature, biased based on the data sets that were being used. We can name numerous examples in which Google's facial recognition software could only recognize individuals with certain skin tones rather than others because the data set used to train those systems used individuals with certain skin tones rather than others. And it's not surprising that that technology can only recognize certain skin tones rather than others. That's an ethical choice in terms of which is the data that we use and that we train our systems on. Value-sensitive design says right from the beginning, we need to ask the people that are going to be directly interacting and even indirectly interacting with the technology to see what they find important. Because we may discover through these various voices of people who otherwise wouldn't be included in the design sphere, what they find important and how they would actually use the technology. Like I said in the previous Idea Me soundbite, how does their behavior match or mix match with what they say they find important? We bring them directly into the design sphere. We do prototyping. We do incremental testing. The systems need to be able to be updated even when they become ubiquitous and pervasive. We see this already with certain electric vehicles that can be updated at a distance without having to be recalled. And of course, our computers and cell phones can be updated at a distance in order to fix bugs or any emergent unwanted issues. We can say that, well, we've always done this since we've had these kinds of technologies. That's true, although value-sensitive design as an approach makes this being philosophically principled. We need to design the technologies right from the beginning to be able to be capable of doing this, knowing that there will be emergent issues that arise over time and across multiple generations. We know that these technologies will have impacts on how future iterations of those technologies will be built. And because of that, we need to adopt a sense of responsibility for the responsibility of others across time, allowing them to have more choice in how they interact and design technologies in order for them to promote human flourishing into their own futures. That's why value-sensitive design, which I discuss in my book, is, I think, the most principled method for beginning to think about real responsible innovation. In my book, which we'll discuss at greater length this summer with Idea Me in a full-length interview, I provide step-by-step instructions for both policymakers who will need to be involved, as well as designers, to work together to figure out what are the values, who are the stakeholders, what values do they say they find most important in their life, and how do the technologies that we're looking to develop support or constrain the flows and the dams of the values in the architecture of those systems. If you want to watch this full-length interview, I recommend that you subscribe to Idea Me so that you can see how we can actually achieve responsible innovation.